Hi, this is Born62, I'm Henrik Jyrs. Today's video is for my friend Mikael, who had asked about barbell rows. A barbell row is a back exercise where you kind of mimic the motion you make when you row a boat. Because you are using a barbell, your hands are fixed, so they'll not be able to come in and out, but will stay in the same distance from each other. A lot of people have difficulties, confusion about the barbell row. In textbook form, you are standing bent over with your body parallel to the floor, with the back completely flat, and that is how you're going to stay. Some people also think you are going to row the barbell up to your chest, like a kind of reverse bench press, but you're not. Actually, most people have trouble standing in that position, and if you have long thigh bones like I have, you simply cannot keep balance using a heavy weight like that, so you have to come up a little. In my book, acceptable form is coming up until 45 degrees. That is like this. If you come up any further, you are not doing rows for the lats, you are actually doing some kind of shrugging motion for your traps instead. So you have to keep below 45 degrees to do a proper row. You should also consider if the row is a good exercise for you, because there is a risk involved. If you have any kind of lower back pain, that can be severely damaged by doing bent over barbell rows, because most people are able to lift quite some weight, and at the same time, if they start to falter a bit or lose balance, you can easily try to correct that imbalance with your lower back and then hurt yourself. But if you're in good form, if you have no injuries or disabilities, the barbell row is an excellent exercise. And in the very first book I ever bought about training, which was The Education of a Bodybuilder by Arnold S, he states, guys who don't row never get a winning back. So let's assume we are after the row. I use straps for rows because I'm not interested in training my forearms or my grip. I'm interested in training my back, which is the lats and the inner part of the back, the trapezius. Some weeks back I showed you how to do a back shrug, where you stand in almost the same position and use dumbbells to shrug the back together. You actually need to start the row with the same kind of motion. First, pulling your scapulas, your shoulder blades in together, and then completing the rest of the motion with your lats. Your arms and hands should just be hooks where the weight is hanging. You should not work your biceps or your shoulders or anything else in any particular way. So this is where a lot of people have trouble, because they can't feel their backs. And like a lot of other exercises, what you should do if you have trouble getting that mind-muscle connection, you should start out with light weights and do a lot of reps and try to do them slowly and get a full contraction. Sooner or later you can feel that contraction, and little by little you'll get the connection between your mind and your muscle. What you shouldn't do is what you can see in any gym all over the world. A couple of big guys who are almost jumping the weight up and down, doing some very peculiar movements where you can't tell if they're trying to start a lawnmower, if they're doing rows, deadlift, or what the hell they're doing. That kind of behavior can last for only so long, and sooner or later they will injure themselves. So don't try to mimic that. Good form is always depending on you using a weight you can handle. So leave your ego at the door. Don't try to use a lot of weight and injure yourself. That will just set you back. So please start out slowly with a manageable weight, and then from there, when you feel you have a good connection with your back muscles, you can move on. I'll show you this exercise with 3 different weights, a light warm-up weight, and then progressing 2 steps up the ladder. And what you will see is probably also that my form will suffer a bit when the weights get heavy. That is just the way it is, but as long as I keep good control, it's all right. Okay, like I said, It's important to keep your back as flat as possible. Most people are not that flexible in the hip area so they can keep a completely flat back. But try the best you can and never round up like this, because then you'll hurt yourself. Also keep your head up, not very high up, but not like this either. Keep it in a neutral position where your neck follows your spine. You need a grip that is shoulder width or a little bit wider than shoulder width, but not much. If you grip the bar too narrow, you will work your arms instead of your back. Too wide and the range of motion will be very limited. Like I said, I'm using straps for this one, as I don't want to work my forearms, but I want to work my back. I start out by getting low and coming up like this. The bar is almost resting on my knees and I start the movement. Okay, that was the first set, that was a warm-up set, and I will progress a little further by putting on a little more plates. I have added 2 10 kilo plates, so we are around 70 kilos now, and this is second set, so it's not the heaviest, but neither is it light anymore. And you'll see that my form will probably suffer a bit. So going heavier is something you should only do when you think you manage the technique properly with lighter weights. Always try to contract the shoulder blades first and then the lats. And then we will move on to the heaviest set. Okay, this is 19 kilos now. I usually don't go any heavier than that. I prefer, if I need to go any kind of heavier for my back muscles, I prefer to do it in a machine or with a cable row instead of a barbell row, simply because the risk of injuring your lower back is much higher with this exercise. So I prefer to do some good quality reps. And this is, as I said, my heaviest set. Still, I try to keep a good contraction with every rep. But as you surely will see, my form will suffer a little bit. That was it for today. Mikael, if you have any further questions, please write me. And that goes for all of you too. If you have any kind of wishes or questions, just write me. Hi.